Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. I am your host, Robert O'Haver, and with me is my co-host, Caleb McKelvin. Caleb, how's it going?
It's going great, Rob. Happy to be back in the studio. As always, we have an awesome show of Search Talk Live coming at you.
Yes, we do. And if it's your first time tuning in, our show is every Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. We talk about search engine marketing, search engine optimization. If it's digital, we talk about it. Social media.
Absolutely.
Content marketing. We've had some great, amazing guests on and continue to have more and more, knock on wood. And we've had one of our guests, Michael Stricker, who's been on the show before. We asked him back because we had a really good episode with him and a lot of feedback. And with no further ado, Michael, how's it going?
Cut the applause.
No applause. Please throw money.
No, that's all. Thanks a lot for inviting me back. I know you guys run a great show, and that's why I'm so pleased to be here. Mm-hmm. You've had some great guests, and I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but John Mueller, Google's webmaster trends analyst.
Yep.
The go-to guy for figuring out how Google regards different rank factors and maybe what they might look askance at. That's great that you had him, and that was a nice spot. Rand Fishkin, you had him, right?
Yes, we did.
From the Wizard of Moz. And the guy whose name is synonymous with SEO, I think, Bruce Clay.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome guy. I've heard him speak a few times at conferences, and funny that Google, I think it was John Mueller, actually came out to, maybe it was Gary Ilyas, actually came out to compliment Bruce Clay for doing and teaching SEO the right way.
Yeah.
So
that's huge.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's so rare. There's a lot of criticism from Google, and they don't appreciate being spammed and all, but they actually complimented Bruce. You've had Bill Slosky on your show.
Yep.
Yes, we
last
did.
week.
Yep.
Yeah, great episode last week.
Yep, he's. I worked with him as a consultant in an agency. Now he's out there. I guess Go Fish Digital.
Yeah,
swell guy. And I have to admit, I don't necessarily read every word he writes because he writes about Google patents and such.
Yeah.
But I just once in a while I have to touch base with him and see what Google has been doing intellectual property wise to think about seriously what they might implement in search, in days to come.
Yeah.
It's great to do that. And then Eric Enga, swell guy, Stone Temple Consulting. I think he was on your show too.
Well, he hasn't been on yet. He's scheduled, though.
Yeah. Next couple of weeks, I believe he's going to be coming on.
He's next show, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe.
So that's one to look forward to, definitely.
There, I did all your announcements for you.
Hey, thank you. Michael Stricker.
Michael, I have to tell you, you are the best guest because you help us come up with the content. You help promote the show when we tweet it out. And I mean, I really super appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely.
No, thanks. I'm glad to be part of it. And, I'm honored truly to be here. I always want to bring usefulness to guests. And having set up the webinar process for SEMrush, I've kind of been in your seats, you know.
A lot of people
whatever
don't
I can, because it can be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the work that goes into each and every show.
That's why I keep bugging you. One of your topics I think would be great if it was breaking into podcasting and all the work that does go into it and what appropriate platforms to look at and all that stuff. I think that would be an awesome thing.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely still want to do that.
Cool.
But those of you tuning in, you can call into the show with your questions. Once we get started here, the number is 855-722-0006. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies, and you can visit robertpalmercompanies.com and read up on that information for our sponsor. Thanks a lot to our sponsor. Now, Michael, we want to talk about Penguin.
Oh, yeah.
And penalties and all kinds of stuff today. So we got a lot to cover in this hour-long show. So let's dive into it.
I'm ready to go. So just to set a little groundwork, maybe some listeners, and I'm not sure how many, we can't really run a poll, but some listeners may not actually have experienced the first incidences of Penguin, Google's algorithm update and its subsequent refreshes. So if this is your first time through on Penguin, hopefully we'll give you some insight into what it really was and, what some of the damages were and things to look out for. For those of you who've been through it, you're probably hovering around thinking, when will Penguin return? When will they release that next refresh? And there's been a lot of talk about when that will happen and what it'll be like. So great. I feel like I'm lucky to talk about it because I survived the first go around, and actually it was a very good thing for agencies at the time to do a lot of Penguin, link remediation. That's a lot of business for people, and even to this day, some of that work still goes on.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, as far as, of course, we read constantly, expect it in the next 2 weeks, expect it, it's right around the corner. I mean, from your perspective and from what you have gathered, what do you think is when that update might be coming, when it can be expected?
2016-ish.
Any day now.
Right. You're right.
Any day. I mean, not to make too light of it because, a lot of people are really invested in this. And
yes.
if 15, 14 months ago, you actually did a lot of link toxicity remediation, you removed, severed a lot of links, or you did a lot of disavowal, you're waiting, and it's not, really fair to joke around about it. But, Google's John Mueller came out, said that, with the next update, that, it's going to become real time, which will be a completely different presentation of this algorithm. It'll become part of the primary algorithm. They're going to rerun data through it, but it's going to happen all of the time as they recrawl. So it's going to be a very, very different kind of presentation.
Yeah.
And instead of waiting months and months, it should take effect on a rolling schedule.
Right.
So, there have been some rolling out quality updates in January, but Google came out and said that was definitely not Penguin.
Right.
And that was confirmed by Zeneb, Gary Ilias, and John Mueller all went on Twitter to say that was not Penguin. So that's, we're really waiting. The last I heard was that John Mueller got tired of going back to the team that's developing that and pestering them for an answer about a date.
Yeah.
So take that however you like. I mean,
right.
We're pretty cynical about that.
Well,
But
I'm sure they're feeling the pressure right now.
Yeah.
yes. I'm sure they get lots and lots of messages from people who are invested in it and very interested. My feeling would be that, here we are and, we're headed, we're halfway through April and January, February, March, the first quarter went by and we didn't get it. My feeling is it has to happen sometime in the next quarter. We think back in time. There was always this thing that, some of the biggest updates and bundles of updates took place in the month of June or May.
Yeah.
And so that would be my guess, but I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the whole real-time aspect of things. And, some of our listeners that might be not as advanced in the digital marketing and SEO side of things, they're hearing real-time thinking, well, okay, this is going to be consistently updated. Maybe I can try things. If it doesn't work, I can get away from it. What do you think are the benefits of the whole real-time aspect? And, if there is some type of downfall or negative side of things, what might those be?
Yeah. So if you've been waiting for, a year and a half to see the effect of your link remediation, getting, disavowed of domains that are poor link sources, and you've cleaned up your link profile and all of that, then having a real-time algorithm actually appeals to you.
Right.
Because as soon as Google discovers through recrawling that a link is added or removed or disavowed, then the Penguin algorithm is going to process it in real time. Now, doesn't mean that it's going to happen immediately, because there's that whole thing about recrawling. But once that happens, then, should result in a rapid recovery from a Penguin, I don't want to say penalty, but, a Penguin quality issue. It's quite possible that, this could happen more than once a month, depending on how frequently your site gets crawled, and certainly up to Google. But that's a heck of a lot better than waiting for a year and a half. And that's on the good side.
Yeah.
And, on some of the other, aspects of it, if you're looking at it a little differently, it also implies that if you run afoul of the Penguin, and you do some of the things that Penguin was created to punish, then you could really face an accelerated imposition of a Penguin demotion. In other words, you start a link building service with some offshore thing, and they start building a mad, I want 5,000 links this month. They all happen on the last Thursday of the month. They're all on foreign language and porn sites, and you get this mass of links. Well, in the next few weeks, Google crawls all of that and goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. And suddenly, you have a big issue. Your domain is suffering very badly. Things have been de-indexed, or you just have become invisible.
Right.
For spamming the index, which they certainly frown on pretty deeply.
Yeah, they also had said that, if you're consistently breaking these penalties or getting hit with these penalties, you may not come back at all.
Yeah. Yep. Sure. It's, it's entirely up to them. And one of the things that happened, we're talking about back in, as far back as 2012 through 2014, there were domains, and still to this day are, that like to play with risk because they want the rewards and can have multiple issues. And I remember one unfortunate domain that came to an agency that I worked at for, help us fix our problems. And one of the domains that they had a nested series of issues that included Penguin. They had some pages that were dropped back to positions 10 through 15 for Panda problems. And they had a message in there, and it was funny because the client hid it from us at first, I think. Here, you got a message in your what used to be it's now the Google Search Console. Yeah. The message was, you have this other issue, copyright issues. Wow. They got pages de-indexed for reported theft of content, whether it was real or not. Sometimes people use that DCMA report, and they use it as a negative SEO issue. But they had all of these issues, and it took time to recover from all of that. And as soon as you recovered from one, sometimes that's when you discover, there's something else going on, because it's not a full recovery.
Yeah,
so you get pretty good at Search Console. You get pretty good at analytics, maybe using some tools and figuring out just what your issues really are, so you're attacking the right thing and not wasting time.
Right. Absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Search Talk Live. We're here with Robert O'Haver and Kayla McKelvin. Our special guest today, once again, is Michael Stricker. If you'd like to call into the show, it's 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006. Please hit option 1, and our main man, Dave, will direct your call. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. That's robertpalmercompanies.com. You can check out everything they have to offer. Some pretty cool stuff. Highly recommend visiting that site. That's robertpalmercompanies.com. You can also get us on Twitter at Search Talk Live, or email us our first names at searchtalklive.com. Now, Michael, I think a lot of people out there might be thinking, well, how do I prepare for this? If it's right around the corner, what should I be doing? What should I be looking at? How do I go about preparing for this so my site doesn't get hit, even if it is kind of it's going to be real time. Nobody wants to get any type of penalty whatsoever. even if you can recover quickly. So when somebody asks that question, what's your response to that?
Yeah, so there are many who have already begun a disavowal of links that's necessary to fix a problem that Google has already detected. If you have not started back in the day hoping for the next Penguin refresh, then you should be, and this is something that you should, one, be able to run a diagnosis for your site and see whether this is really an issue for you. It's not that you would be suffering from this now, so you're really trying to be predictive, and you're trying to look for link signals that could be interpreted or misinterpreted, if you like, by Google that says, yeah, you've been pretty spammy with your link building, and you are vulnerable. So that's one way to start. And the other thing is to apply the best practices in such a way that you are pretty confident that you are not going to suffer because you're building and enabling the building of good links that are really honestly, truly, genuine, authentic. You are getting them from great sources, and you're taking into account everything that applies today. So one of the things I was just talking to somebody over lunch about was with Joe Wellis. He was talking about mobile and how important it's become. And we've heard Google go from preferring mobile-friendly pages to admonishing people to create from the point of view of mobile first. And since then, I think it was Gary Elias said something to the effect of, oh no, it was the owner of the company, right? He goes, this is not about mobile first anymore. This is about mobile only. So, if you had to think about link sources, you'd be thinking about link sources that were at least mobile friendly already themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would you accept a link from a source that may not be ranking as well in Google's, SERPs, that may not be as well respected by Google because it's simply not doing what Google knows the public wants.
Right.
So that's key.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk about best practices for a second, because we hear individuals like Matt Cutts saying you shouldn't be doing link building. They should be building themselves. So there's no point in kind of doing it. You hear things like this, and then you got individuals like myself who are like, well, when you're working for some of these smaller sites, you can create that awesome content, and you still might have some difficulty building those natural links. You have to go through the outreach process, and there's link building that needs to be done, and there's great ways to do it. So when somebody's worrying about, well, okay, what type of link building should I be doing for my website? What are the best practices, and what should I absolutely be steering clear from? Can we kind of touch on that for a minute? And, what do you think the best practices somebody should be executing?
Yeah. So, the always answer, the forever answer to questions like that is it depends, and not to be evasive. So, it depends on what kind of site you have and really what your market or audience is. So, on the B2B side, on the business to business side, everybody out there, all the corporations and all the big businesses and small to medium businesses are invested in content marketing.
Right.
And we know that to be like, let's create something smart and something useful and something fresh and something original and maybe something fairly deep, like, maybe more than 2,000, words deep. Mm-hmm. Something evergreen, something that can be updated and refreshed so that it always is an attractive source of useful information for people. And it helps them reach a decision point. So if you're in B2B and you sell something that's a considered purchase, like, let's come up with a power backup system for an entire office building or something. That's not cheap. Or let's sell cloud services and, it's going to cost you $250,000 a year. That's a big considered decision. There's lots of information that goes into that. And you provide the information that people need to really make a good decision. Support them in that. That's what's going to earn you links, because the person who puts their behind on the line to make that purchase is going to appreciate the fact that they found a comparison chart of pluses and minuses of all these different, power systems or something.
Right.
And sure enough, they've got associates, friends, buddies they've met at conventions who might be able to use it too. So we kind of laugh and sneer at actual, links that do get built, but some do get built.
Right.
The reinforcement for that comes from Google itself, who, Google's gotten pretty damn good at not only figuring out what's a bunch of bad links, but they have a sense of scale now, Google does, that you don't need a million, bajillion links. You have actually probably a window, and I can't attest to this, nobody's pointed this out to me, but there's a window of the total number of links that Google says is appropriate. So, let's move away from B2B and e-com, let's say, but let's go to, a local business. Lots of smaller clients, smaller local businesses, regional businesses. Google's not going to expect them to have, 150,000 links.
Right.
To have that might just be one of the signals that says, oh, we're going to have to run the Penguin algo here and see if, it's got more factors that add up to spam, to engineered links.
Yeah, now, Michael, why don't you mention some tools out there that can be used to check those links?
Yeah. So part of looking at the whole situation, includes like what signals you're looking for, and then how to figure them out. So if I'm looking on the negative side, to see what links are poor and see if they add up to a significant portion of my whole link profile, in the past I would have loved to have used, I believe it was a company, Verante, had a toxic link factor generator, did a great job of figuring out sources of links. And so when blog networks and link schemes and link wheels were a significant issue for Google, they got better at identifying them in the first place. But this particular tool would figure out the sources of links and tell you, oh, these links are from blogs. These links are from directories. These links are from, wherever. And because you knew the type of link it was, you could look at a profile and say, you know what? This particular domain has way, way overweighted in, say, blog links. And now I have to go and look at those blogs and figure out, are these, the wrong, like, footer links across every page of the blog or, whatever. And that makes it much more rapid to dig into that. So that same company today, some others, Kemper runs a link set of link tools that are very, very good at finding out what kinds of links they are, so you can arrive at that list more rapidly of toxic links. But link research tools was a big one. But what we relied on most often was the big link databases, because we looked at everything, every single thing. So we would use Ahrefs, and we would use Majestic.
Yeah.
Majestic was great in the sense that they have that trust factor that I don't think anybody else has really truly duplicated. So the trust factor was really an early on principle for Google that said your proximity to, say, the 100 most trusted sites on the web is a key indicator of how much trust Google should give you. In other words, if you're linked to from Amazon, from Apple, from some of these giant corporations who have a great reputation of their own, then Google will extend you a certain amount of trust. And so having a measure of that in a tool, in a link tool like Majestic, that's an awesome thing, and still very useful, to this day. However, whatever formula that they use to calculate it, that's another great factor to be looking at. Because why? Because you need to be in proximity to trust. And part of the issue for many who got damaged by Penguin was being in a bad neighborhood. You were getting links from a bunch of seedy domains that were crappy directories of no interest to anyone. And guess what? They all lived in the same C block of IP address on a particular server somewhere. And it was just like horrible to be associated with that. Google knew from your proximity to that bad neighborhood, or that you were hosted on that neighborhood, that you were likely a bad bet to be in the SERPs. And, I've seen instances of that as well, where a website says, look, I do everything right, and I'm just struggling. I just can't seem to get more than like my homepage showing up in Google. And you take a look a little deeper, and you find you've got this, you're surrounded and maybe even linked to seedy sites, and you need to extricate yourself from the situation. So doing a good migration job, and even just sometimes moving over to another host and another server, and all of that can actually, help sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people do make the mistake of, their site's on has a penalty, say, oh, I'm going to start over, but then they redirect all those pages that were from the old site, ending up throwing a penalty on the new site.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right. And in the effort to save value that you've spent money on and all of this, but people make a number of problems for themselves. And one of those, Eric Enge brought it up, talking about how they would do disavowals. And he recommended taking your link profile and disavowing every link that was less than like a page authority of or a domain authority under 70.
Yeah.
Just like get rid of it. Chances are that's where all the crap lives anyway. And will you lose some SEO value? Yeah, there are some very good sites and relevant things in that range.
Yeah.
But if you really want to be assured that you're going to most rapidly arrive at a cleaned up link profile, you can do that. And, I've done that with some people in the past. At the other side of that all, though, are the people who fought with, tooth and nail, every step of the way. Every single link was like, no, don't get rid of that link. That link is like this. And you'd be like, no, this link is not what you think it is. We need to get rid of this, and about 10,000 others just like it. And,
yeah,
right.
And there's another tool Moz has that that gives a spam score to the links.
Yeah.
So from a scale of 1 to 10, and then anything above a 6 or higher is kind of questionable. So you can go check those, and that type of stuff.
Yeah, finding a quick and easy number to help you get at that. And that brings up the whole issue of, okay, so we talked about bad links, profiling bad links, bad link sources, and a couple of tools to do that. And, Moz's own OSE can help with that. The number of links in those databases, Ahrefs Majestic on one side, with what were we talking about? 10 trillion links or something now, 11 trillion links, enormous volumes of links, versus Moz's OSE. I think last time I saw it was like about 350 billion links, which is still a lot.
Yeah.
Not nearly, 11 trillion. And then SEMrush has a much smaller number of links in its database. Mm-hmm. But what I usually do is I characterize the tools by what they're best at, and you need to know that. So if I'm looking at a domain or several domains, consulting on a possible Penguin issue or whatever it is, I want to go to the biggest databases, and I will even pull all of the data about links to a domain from multiple tools. I'll take everything out of Majestic, and I will merge and purge that against everything out of Ahrefs, and I will take everything out of their own Google Search Console that I can extract to put it all together in one place. And then I can work from there and do a real thorough job and preserve, the good links and get rid of the bad ones.
I am so glad to hear you say that, because people ask me all the time, why are you a member of all the tools?
Right.
I'm like, because I aggregate.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly. You know what the tool is good for. Where the data may become a little bit questionable or a little shallow, and you use it appropriately. But it's true. You end up with Aleta Solis, who is on the road talking all the time. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her domain, Aura Inte or whatever, but speaks about tools all the time. And, talks about the topic of the day. Okay, it's mobile, what kind of tools you should be using. And she'll name 10, 11, 12 tools during the course of a presentation.
Right.
And yes, she has a very clear idea about what to use each one for.
Right.
Now, so at the other side, like we're talking about negative links and bad link sources and identifying them, in the other side of that coin is finding good link sources and, where should you be going for that? So hopefully you have a sense for, the client, the domain, what makes the most sense, what shoppers look for, what's upstream, or what's downstream, what accessorizes the product that you're looking at, or what do people think of as synonymous with the service that is being promoted. But looking for sources of links, because sometimes this is done at higher volumes than others, you would look maybe in a source like Moz OSE, which takes some time to clean out their links, or you would look at SEMrush.
Yeah.
And you would say, SEMrush, for instance, will crawl or gather a lot of data about popular keywords and how things are ranking in SERPs and what's first, second, whatever. Everything that's encountered as a link and as a domain in the SEMrush database is going to be something that Google respects, has extended some trust to, and is listed among the top 100 results. So if I had to pick a link source, how much thinking do I have to put into this? I'm going to pick the best sources that have the most respect from Google. And if I get a link from them, I am pretty well assured that it's going to have some durability. It's going to have some, whatever you call it, we'd call it page authority, call it trust, call it, juice in the old days, whatever it is, you're going to get some of that.
Sure.
And so, rather than looking at a giant database like Ahrefs or Majestic, where a lot of links reside, but a lot of those links, the domains that they are sourced from, have been disavowed themselves. Some of them are neglected. Some of them are really, really bad places to get links from. So you have to be really canny about picking your sources that way, or you could just go to a database that just naturally has very good link sources and start from there.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Search Talk Live with hosts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can visit robertpalmercompanies.com. If you'd like to call into the show, it is 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006. Or tweet at us at Search Talk Live. Make sure you hit option 1 when you do call in, and our producer Dave will answer the phone, direct your call, get you on air with your question for Robert, myself, or our special guest today, Mr. Michael Stricker. We actually do have an email that came in from a listener, and it says, I've had an agency build several links through blog commenting. Are these effective, carry any weight, or are they useless?
So, everything in moderation. So, you'd have to look at what Google might consider natural and authentic looking, and getting a few links from blog comments is naturally part of any link profile. I think that having a few is great. When you do what people used to do, and you build 600 of these a month, and the comments are just like, great post.
Right, yeah.
Links to you.
Awesome article.
There's no relevance whatsoever. There's no time taken to write a response. You'll hear people talk about semantic SEO. People talk about relevance. People talk about co-occurrence of terms and phrases. These are all signals that Google would say, oh, this is a legitimate comment. It comes from a post that is relevant to the topic, and therefore, it has some weight to it.
Yeah.
So really, it's just like how much you do it and how relevant it is.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the message I tweeted out about Alan Blazewise, his picture, a Superman picture that I did.
Yeah.
It like within a couple minutes, it was indexed, and you go into Google and type in his name, and that picture shows up. So it pulled a co-citation around that image and stuck it in there as being relevant.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. And I hope he didn't get struck by a copyright problem.
Right. Yeah, got Superman on there. Well, no, I think blog commenting, I think you definitely touched on it. in moderation, it's a good thing. A great tool to use it for is for relationship building. If you're in content marketing, that's one thing I really like to do it for. I visit several blogs throughout the day, just reading up on things. And if I feel like it's brought me to write a comment on it, then I'll write a comment on it and strike up a conversation with the author. And it's done wonders in building relationships for myself. And sometimes you do get a link out of it, and it can be on an authoritative site, which is always helpful, no follow or not. But I think it's a great relationship building tool, especially if you're in the content marketing field, because I've had several things kind of spin off of that, where it leads to email conversations, and then all of a sudden we're working together.
Absolutely, 100%. And as a blog owner, operator, editor, they're going to appreciate if they've taken the time to moderate comments and they have a decent system. They're going to appreciate the comments. You ideally get the author themselves responding in at least a few hours of publishing in that time frame. That can be very informative. Gets great information out there that maybe was excluded from the original post. So that kind of interaction is awesome and informative. And that addition of user-generated content, when done conscientiously like that, just becomes part of what Google finds on that page and indexes. So on the good side, getting 60 great comments on a post is certainly going to help you in the long run, especially if it happens in a relatively short time frame. There's this onset of comments and such that Google says, it's clear that this is well respected and well read. On the opposite side of that is maybe people who are engaged in negative SEO, or especially in reputation damage. They will add all kinds of really nasty, bad comments. And if somebody's not taking the time to moderate, or if the blog itself that they occur on is part of an attack, it can be difficult to take that stuff down. In the meantime, all of those comments, just like they would for a good post, are going to float the bad post, the complaints, the negative comments up to the top of the SERPs.
Right.
There's a good and a bad side to everything, I guess, pretty much. But we're looking for those user generated content, authenticity, relevance, getting a good link, and that almost brings you to the point of social. People talk about, well, is social good for SEO? And,
right.
No, all your links from social are going to be no follow. They certainly are from Twitter. Yet, Twitter material is floating up in SERPs.
Right. Yeah, it absolutely is.
Like you're talking about Alan Bleiweiss and his stuff, and there it is. There, his information about him is right up top. Google was experimenting with carousels.
Yep.
I believe it's local, and it shows some social results pulled out. And I think there was some Twitter and maybe some Google Plus and stuff in there. And that's awesome to see. So social, not necessarily a rank factor for your domain itself, where you ultimately want people to arrive, but becoming visible itself, bringing people to your social properties, finding social proof, getting to know and respect your brand better, and ultimately the value of a link, aside from all those crazy factors that we ascribe to it, page authority, juice, whatever you want to call it, is traffic. You build the links in the best places that are going to bring you traffic that has your product, your service, whatever it is, your information in mind.
Right.
And what could be better than that? So frankly, I don't care if social is going to float my domain because it's going to bring domain authority or page authority. No. What I really care about is the traffic that it's going to bring.
Right.
And then it's a matter of doing this continuously, because social has a short shelf life. It's only visible in the stream, in the timeline for a short period of time.
Right.
Well, that's why there's so many opportunities for social media people out there to be creating those messages and engaging with others.
Yeah.
So it's all good. I mean, it's just that it has a little different purpose. And I forget, it was I think it was John Mueller, and maybe he even did this during your show, but he was talking about how people are overly focused on follow versus no follow.
Right. I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember what he was saying about that?
Well, I think we had asked him the question. We might have had a listener question on, do no follow links pass juice or carry any weight or anything of that nature? I can't specifically remember his response, but I mean, we get this question all the time, and just like you said, having a link, whether it's no follow or not, if it's in the right place, on the right website and something that's clean and organic, if it drives traffic to your website, it shouldn't matter really if it's no follow or follow, either one.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, a link is a link, and from a respected source, it's going to bring traffic. And so the point of all that, I think, is, whether it's another site or whether it's in social, and that link is bringing you traffic, and the traffic is arriving, and it's arriving from the SERPs, maybe, and it is sticking around when it gets there, so it's not pogo sticking away like, Rand calls it.
Yeah.
All good user experience signs that people appreciate that result from the SERP, that's definitely going to help.
Yeah, and that I have to think too that when Google's indexing these pages, they're seeing that traffic is coming, from that link. Mm-hmm. So to me, that would place more value on that link in Google's mind as well as the site owner. But do you know what I mean from a value standpoint?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely right. Google's going to watch it, watch the traffic departing search. Arriving someplace, and then sort of timing,
right?
Stickiness, dwell time. How long does it take before when they bounce the page? Do they arrive back in the SERP to search yet again?
Right.
And therefore, it's like a display of like, okay, this didn't answer my question. I'm back in Google and I'm looking again.
Right.
And that so there's a positive side to it, and people stick around on your site after they arrive from Google search, and that's a good sign. And they leave and they go right back to Google, and Google knows that, and they can see it and time it, and they go, oh, no, this is clearly not satisfying this particular search query. So enough of that happens, and Google has to decide what is a better maybe result than yours. And they are constantly testing. There's always some degree of flux. What we think of as rank, oh, no. I mean, you may be on page 1 and typically in position 3, but, they're going to try somebody else in position 3. Occasionally, like during the course of the day.
Yeah.
If they stick, if the user experience is describing to Google that that's a better search result than yours, then you may go to 4 or something like that. So, right. And there's always something in flux. They call it experiments on their side. So,
yeah. Well, Robert and I listened to a very interesting. It was a podcast or a blab the other day, and these individuals were talking about how links are not a rank factor anymore. That SEO agencies and all these other individuals are selling links just to get the hook, line, and sinker and get you in here, and are preaching that links are a ranking factor still when they're actually not. And so, of course, we tend to highly disagree with them, but I'll kind of let you address this as well. How important are links as a ranking factor? Because everybody wants to rank high, how much weight are they going to carry in boosting your visibility and search results?
Yeah, well put. So that you guys have to start listening to better podcasts. I don't know where that, but there's been some recent things that. So this is not Michael Stricker saying, links are important.
Yeah.
Backlinko, Brian Dean, together with Eric Van Buskirk of Clickstream, just did a study, used 1 million queries to put this study together and look at the top 10 Google SERP results. And, if anybody's really interested, call it in or message you guys, send an email to Search Talk Live. We'll give you the link to the study, but basically links in this study of 1 million results, links remain a very strong and one of the strongest rank factors.
Absolutely.
Or anything that wants to be not only among the top 10, but wants to advance from position 10 to position 1. So, it remains important right up to the uppermost levels of appearance in the SERPs. And then in addition to that, I mean, there are plenty of experiments. I love experiments because even small data sets for experiments are exciting to see. It's sort of a proof. And I love it when people invest the time to actually do these things. I know Rand and Dr. Pete from Moz and some other people do this. And, you have to be careful because the experiments are not always good experiments. They're not constructed by scientific methodology. They don't have statistical significance. But in this one post here had experiments by Rand Fishkin, by Eric Enge, Dejan SEO, and SEO Clarity. And it was a nice post with 16 SEO experiments that will change the way you think about SEO. So just running down the list of those experiments. Number 3 was the link echo effect, which is the residual effect of ranking long after links are removed. Now, you said, right, Robert, you were saying, well, is it possible that there's this effect where I redirect things and then the bad juju follows that? Or, there is a link echo effect that, and maybe this has something to do with how long it takes Penguin to refresh, right? It would be on the positive side that you could have links could rot, disappear, whatever, and their effect can remain after that. And that was proven in this, relatively small experiment. Mm-hmm. Exact match anchor text. That's an issue for Penguin.
Sure.
Overdo that in a majority of your links, and you're going to be basically screwed.
Yeah.
Right? You're toast. But on the positive side, they will trump non-anchor match links. In other words, if all you have on a page are
brands or something,
links arriving with good anchor text and relevance, and then you have something else that's blank or it just says link or it just has the brand name, the relevant stuff is going to work. The thing of it is your links cannot be overweighted in that category.
Right.
If you too much, exact match, it's going to kill you. But there you go. It works. Links to other websites to lift your rankings. Well, there's something that's vastly overlooked, I think. And I can't count how many times, I've had conversations consulting with people or whatever. And you say, back in the old days, Google would show trust for websites that were in close proximity to big, highly trafficked, respectable, trustworthy domains. So put yourself in that proximity. If you can't get a link from Apple, then link to them. But link to something that's relevant to the topic on the page.
Right.
And do it in a mindful way. And it supports what you are talking about, what you are demonstrating, whatever it is. And so that has also been proven that external links help float your rank higher. And it's another thing. So, it just kind of goes on. So no follow links also actually increase your ranking. That's experiment number 10.
That was good 11. To hear.
Yeah,
right. It actually, that's not to say they are equal, but I think at some point Google had to say, geez, there's so many links out there. Some, for instance, some blogs would build every single link as a no follow because the fear was, guest posting.
Yep.
Oh, I don't want to be seen as driving link juice for in exchange for a post and being killed. So everything became no follow, and Google finally probably had to go, well, it's a cloudy issue, and no follow. It doesn't know how to interpret it anymore.
Well, it had to affect their search results as well. It's like if link being the popularity contest, and you just killed most of that.
Nobody's popular. We hate everybody.
Yes, exactly.
We don't show any results. And then, and the final few, let's say, links from web pages with thousands of links actually do work. So there's that old model of link juice. And, your site has too many outbound links, especially on this particular page, and each one detracts some of the page authority. And too many links spread it too thinly, and it's diffuse, and it doesn't help anything. Well, that's kind of baloney. It's been proven that you can have many, many links from pages, as long as they are rich, well-themed, all that good stuff. They they still deliver value. Image links. Some people just kind of dismiss it. I'm not saying every link that you have to your site should be an image link, or that they should all be like your logo gets spread all over the place and it just uses the word logo as the anchor text and links back to you. No, that's probably not it. But image links work, and they work really well.
Yeah.
Now we're down to about 10 minutes of the show. If you want to call in with your questions, the number's 855-722-0006, option 1. And Michael, did you say you had something for the exclusive for our listeners?
Yeah, but I'm going to make it contingent on somebody calling in with a question. How's that?
Hey, there you go. There you go.
No, really. I mean, one of the advantages of your show, I think, over others is that you actually have this listen live thing. So it's almost like it is a live podcast, and it would be awesome if people took advantage of the opportunity to get their questions out there and maybe get a little help or contribute something. But I'm not going to be coy. Basically, what I have for people is, at the generosity of SEMrush, my former employer, I told them I was doing this, and so we have a shortened link to a 2-week SEMrush trial for free. It's not going to require you to enter a credit card or anything. So if you just want to test it out and maybe swim around there, like we were saying, looking for some good link sources,
right, or
using other aspects, the link is a bit.ly link, if you're familiar with that. If you're not, it's http://bit, that's bit.ly, bit.ly, and then a slash. And the rest of the link is very simple. It is capital F free -4 -2. So it reads like free for 2 weeks, free for 2.
Oh, very cool.
Gotcha. And we SEMrush welcomes people come try out the tool. They have lots of free trials, and hey, give it a shot and see if you can find some useful aspects of it. People usually love it for competitive research and for keyword research.
Yeah,
Michael, you're like the Oprah of
giving it out for free.
You get
what
a
is that on her
membership,
show?
and you get a membership.
Right.
If I was really that, people would be screaming, "Yeah!"
Yeah, right. We'll have to get that sound bit
effects.
too. Yeah. Well, there you go. You need to call on in 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006. Option 1. Get your questions in for Mr. Michael Stricker, and definitely take advantage of that offer from SEMrush. If you haven't used that tool yet, I highly suggest that you do. It's one that Robert and I do use pretty much on a daily basis among our tool belt, I guess, our SEO tool belt. It's definitely in there, helps out a lot of things, especially managing, monitoring, and doing some link research. So that's a bit.ly link /free -4 -2, right, Michael?
That's correct.
It
is case sensitive, so get the capital F.
Capital F, right.
I'll actually post it on the blog post we did for the show, and then I'll put it in comments on the actual recording of the show.
So you can go to searchtalklive.com as well. We will put that link on the post, the Michael Stricker post we did for this show, so you can make sure you can check that one out. So I know we're winding down on the show, Michael. Now, the title of the show today is Penguin Links and the New Signals of Popularity. So let's take a minute to talk about some of the new signals of popularity to kind of improve your visibility. What do we have there?
Link to Search Talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, link to searchtalklive.com.
Yeah, get all free links from leaving comments.
Right.
So one of the things I just really feel necessary to bring up is, Google released their search quality guidelines. And if you don't have your hands on this 160-page PDF doc, get it. Get your hands on it.
Yeah.
One of the things that they bring up in this, and it's very informative, if you do what Google says they are looking for in quality search result sites, then you're dancing to their tune, and they're going to show their love and respect for you, probably. Let's talk about here, they're talking about in-depth utility of a well-maintained domain, and you're looking to bring something that's been referred to as EAT, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness.
Yeah.
So EAT plays into everything that people have been talking about, that Google wants, expects on your site, And if you build this in, you're going to, or you find sites that have EAT, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, and you earn a link back to your site from there, that's awesome. Or even if you have to build an external link, a link outbound to those sites, that's good. But quick rundown of some of the things that are going to apply. Local link sources. So PostPigeon, and now when it's a mobile-only world, according to Google, your link sources are more important than ever to float your local site up. So if you are limited in any way in terms of the geography or the region that you serve or sell products into, your link sources should be local. There should be some proximity, geographically speaking. So mobile-friendly link sources post-Mobilegeddon. So among those links, expect to get your best links from sites that are ranking well, and therefore, since Mobilegeddon, those sites that are ranking best are mobile-friendly. They're prepared to be presented on smartphones. So, find your link sources among that. Links from secure sites. Yes, Google is earnest about, encrypting information that occurs during searches and on websites. And so your link source sites will perform best over time if they are secure themselves. And not to say that being HTTPS is really much of a ranking factor these days, but it might become one. And why not, make this part of your set of, link source parameters, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Links from language, in other words, English language links, English language linking sites.
DMOZ? No, I'm kidding.
Go. Was it Yahoo? Right, go.
You're right. Yeah.
Before somebody buys them and shuts all that stuff down.
Yeah.
So sites you can look for on multi-language sites. You can look for the importance of hreflang. That not so much that Google looks at the language reference in the HTML tag, but hreflang and the description of the language there breaks multi-language sites down, and you want to get it from the right section of the site. So that's a consideration. It's a little tougher, but you can audit websites for being mobile friendly, and also audit other sites that are potential link sources for, do they expose their resources the way that Google expects? And Google wants to have Googlebot find the JavaScript and the CSS files, and it wants to access them, help them break down the site better and understand things. And there's things that they're looking for. So that is another consideration. Lots of site audit tools out there, some of them free. SEMrush has a tool built into it now as well. Just avail yourself of one. Apply it to your own site, but also apply it to maybe competitors and maybe some of these link sources. Trustworthy link sources, no history of being hijacked or having bad activities taking place on them. So looking back at how a website has been ranked over time, or how many keywords for which it has been relevant or something, can give you an idea. If it's suffered in the past, one, behaviorally, it might be a bad bet. They might end up back there again. And two, as Robert pointed out, it may have some residual effect of some things that it's done in the past. So don't necessarily go there. Reputation. Google's guidelines actually talks about reputation, and I'm not really accustomed to seeing that much. So reputation is an expression of sentiment. Sentiment can be difficult to figure out semantically because of irony. People say things like, "Oh, that was totally bad," but they mean it was good. So it's a little hard to actually get at that. But reputable link sources with a fair or better reputation, good reviews, people saying good things about the brand.
Sorry, we're out of time.
Oh, we're out of time.
No, we wanted to keep going for sure.
Yeah, hold on the line, and we finish out the show real quick. Guys, I want to thank you for listening to Search Talk Live. Thank you for your support. Tune in next week. We have Neil Patel, co-founder of Crazy Egg, Hello Bar, and Kissmetrics. He's going to come in and talk content marketing and how to be successful online. So tune in next Tuesday. Call us in the show, ask your questions, catch us on Twitter. Please go to our website and sign up for our mailing list. You get all kinds of special offers, cost you nothing, and you get the first updates of when our next shows are and all that stuff.
At searchtalklive.com.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.